Hello, welcome to the Add Loads training video for the SpecSizer application. This video is going to show you all of the different ways that you can manage and add loads in your sizing experience. This video is also going to show you some really nice hints and tips so that you can officially and effectively manage loads in the sizing experience. Whilst this video has been created more for new users of the SpecSizer application who are maybe not so familiar with the Add Loads page, this video, I believe, will deliver benefit to existing users who maybe are just not aware of all of the great features that we have when it comes to managing your loads within the experience. So let's get started and go into SpecSizer and into the Add Loads tab. So to get to this page, remember you will have had to create a three-phase or a single-phase sizing project. You'll then have to go into define site conditions. And remember, the only piece of information that you have to enter is the project name before you can proceed to the Add Load section. So once you're in the Add Load section, we can get started. So first, let's look at the loads across the top of the page. SpecSizer leverages standard pre-configured loads types that you can use for your sizing project. But if you don't find a load type that you need or that you're looking for, you can use the miscellaneous load type. And there is a specific training video on using that load type in the training section. So please seek that out. For the purposes of today, we are going to use the standard pre-configured loads. So the first way to start adding loads to different steps of your sizing project is simply selecting the load and then dragging and dropping it to a step. Once you've dragged and dropped it to a step, you can see that the load pop-up is going to appear on the right-hand side. Now, this is where you can change the load name, change the quantity. Are there one or two of these motors? But the one thing that you have to populate is the output rating. And remember to click Save to make sure that the load is properly added to the step. So you can continue in this fashion by adding these loads to different steps or even the same step. Just drag and drop the loads into the steps. The pop-up is going to appear every time where you can enter your information and save it. So to left click on any load is going to open the pop-up again where you can tweak or make changes to the existing load. But if you simply just want to remove it, you can right click on the load and click remove, and it will remove the load from the step that it is placed in. So hopefully you saw just there when I clicked right, I had quite a lot of options when it comes to managing my existing loads. So the first option I have is to lock the load. So if I lock the load, that is going to prevent the optimizer from moving the load when it's running the optimization. There is a specific separate video on the load optimizer. So if you're interested in that, please watch that video. But know that if you want to keep a specific load in a step, then lock that load in. And I've just unlocked it by right-clicking and selecting lock again. Now, the next thing that you can do is you can copy the load that you've created and you're going to copy it within the same step. So if I click copy, it's going to ask how many copies of it do I want to make? 1, 2, 3, or 4, as many as you like. In this case, I'm going to click 1, and it's created a copy of the load with the same information within the same step. Now, what's also nice that you can do is right click again, but instead of copying within the same step, this time we can move it to a different step. So in this case, I'm going to move that load and I'm going to move it to step 2, but you can keep on doing that. So you can keep on copying the load and moving it to a new step. But maybe you have a load type that you simply want to move to a new step, but you don't want to copy it. So instead of copying to a new step, you can just, select move to a new step, and it's going to move that load from the step it was in to the new one as well. And the last thing that you can do is you can use the shed in step functionality. So what that is going to do, it is going to keep the load in the step that it's in, but it's going to remove the load from subsequent steps when you're doing when it's running the sizing algorithm. So I want it to be removed from the load profile from step 2 onwards. So I selected shed in step and step 2. So that is the shed functionality, and it's typically used in Blackstart applications. So really, that's kind of using the drag and drop functionality and the right click capabilities for each loads within the step. You don't have to use drag and drop to add a load to a step. You can also simply just left click on the loads at the top of the page and add it to any of the existing or new steps as well. So instead of dragging and drop, simply left click on the top of the load and add it to a step. Maybe you prefer doing it that way. Okay, so now I'm just going to focus on a little bit about managing the steps. So you can see the different steps 1, 2, and 3 in my page. And just to know that you can collapse these loads, especially if you start to get a lot of steps, this can make it easier to view. You can collapse and expand these loads. And what you can also do is you can completely remove a step, or you can move a step, or you can copy a step. And if you copy a step, it's going to copy the step and all of the loads within it and add it to the end of the steps. So just some nice functionality that you can use when it comes to managing your steps. So now I'm kind of going to leave this screen and talk about how you can bulk add loads to your sizing project, especially when you've got a lot of loads that you want to add really quickly and efficiently. Maybe this interface isn't working for you. So what you can do is you can hover over these 3 lines in the icon on the left-hand side, and you can select bulk add loads. So the purpose of this is to kind of help you add loads to your project, to existing or new steps, but just do it really quickly in a really simple interface. So let's go through and add a couple. So I'm going to add lots of different types of lighting, and I'm going to add them quite quickly. Change the lighting types. Remember, you're going to add them to different steps or the same step, but just remember that the step drop down is here. So you can start to see how you can really quickly add a lot of loads to a single or across or to particular steps. What I will say is just make sure when you're ready to add these to your project that you don't have a blank line at the bottom, or it's not going to let you do that. All of the lines need to be completed. Now, you've got 2 options once you're happy with the loads that you've added. It is add loads to project. Essentially, this is adding the loads that you've created in this page. So in this case, these 4 lighting types, and it's an addition to what you've already done in your previous sizing project. So you're essentially adding those loads into the project. But there is also an option to replace the loads in your project. So if I click this, these 4 loads are going to be added to these steps, but all of the work that I've done in this project previously and all of the loads that I've added will have been deleted. and there is no undo button on this feature. So once you replace these loads, that work is lost. So just really make sure that you want to replace the loads when you click that button. I'm not going to do that for today. I'm just going to add these lighten loads to my existing work. And you can see that they've all been added across those 4 steps. So far we have dragged and dropped loads, we've clicked and added loads, we've copied loads across steps, and we've bulk added loads. So already you've got all of these different ways to add loads. Now we've got probably the best way to add loads when you're starting to deal with lots of different loads and lots of different steps, and that is the Excel download and upload functionality. And you can see it by these 2 buttons with the arrows indicating download and upload. So if you download the template, you're going to get a blank version of all of the different load types. You can see the different load types are the tabs along the bottoms or the sheets along the bottom. So what you can do is you can complete this, you can see the familiar sections, the steps, the quantities, the load names. But again, the main thing that you just have to populate, or the only thing that you have to populate, are the values of the load in the output ring. So if you hover over the different sections, there are hints and tips to help you complete this. If you're not sure of what the standard values should be, please hover over these and they give you a lot of guidance. So I'm going to use one I made earlier, and let me pull that up. So this is an example of one I've created before. So 3-phase motor, pump loads, resistive loads. Remember, not all of these tabs have to be populated, just the ones where you have load information for. And once you have completed your Excel download, make sure you save it as an Excel, just highlighting that there are some instructions on the first tab to help you complete this. So all you need to do is save it as an Excel file with the changes that you've made. And when you're ready, click Import Load Template. Load the template, click Import. And you can see all of the loads that I had added in my Excel are now coming into that bulk add view that we just looked at. And this is a way for you just to verify and check that you're happy with what you've done in the Excel before you formally add them to your project. So let's check through all of these. Yes, I'm happy. Do I want to add it to my existing project or replace all of the work I've done to date? I'm going to add it. And there we go. All of the loads have been added to the various steps. Okay, so now that we've covered all of the different ways in which you can add loads to SpecSizer, just want to highlight a couple of nice final pieces of functionality. So if you look at a load step where you've got a lot of loads in particular, so in our case, this is step 1, you can hover over the menu on the right-hand side and you see you've got this option to sort. So if I click on that, it's essentially going to sort all of the different loads, in this case, 31 loads within the step, by the criteria that we define. So I want to organize my loads by the highest KW to the lowest. So just drag your criteria across into the selected right-hand section and select sort. So now you can see that the 31 loads in step 1 have been reordered based on my new sort criteria. So what I will say is that when you move to the select a generator step, and SpecSizer recommends a generator set to you, of course it does take into account all of the different loads within each step to determine the recommended generator set, but it doesn't take into account the specific load order within a step. So by using that sort functionality that we've just used, you have not in any way impacted the sizing algorithm and the recommended generator set sizing by using that sort function. So that brings us to the end of our load training video. I really do hope that you have found it useful and insightful to add in and manage in your loads. Remember, if you need assistance with the load step or any other functionality within SpecSizer, what you can do is select Help in the top right-hand corner, select Contact Support, where you will be asked to complete a very simple contact form. And once you've submitted it, a SpecSizer support contact will be in touch. Also, just to highlight that once you have saved your project at any stage, whether it's complete or in progress, you can share that project with colleagues. So just find the project name that you would like to share, click the share icon, enter your colleague's email address or addresses, and then share it with them. Once you have done that, they will get a notification, which means they can open a copy of the project and work with you on that by making edits to the copy of the project. So thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a great day.